Rated X.
Welcome to the LaunchPad Podcast.
Right you are, motherfucker!
Welcome to the LaunchPad. Today on this film review podcast, we will be reviewing K.I.D.S, the 1995 film directed by Larry Clark and written by Harmony Korine. I will go over a few notes of the making of the movie, some production details, and then give a few of my thoughts on the film and give it a rating. The script for the movie was written by a then 19-year-old skateboarder, Harmony Korine. It was written at the insistence of Larry Clark, who was then only a photographer. It took Harmony only 1 week to write the script, and he based the movie on situations that him and his friends got into over the last few years in New York City. None of the cast had any prior acting experience, although a few were aspiring to break into the field. This film marks the on-screen debut of Rosario Dawson and Chloe Savini. The majority of the cast were assembled by New York skateboarding kids that were friends of Harmony's. Some of the cast were even professional skateboarders, including Howard Hunter and Justin Pierce. Larry Clark had some trouble reeling in the cast, as the broke skateboarding kids would often steal from the production, and on some occasions he even had to bail a couple of cast members out of jail. During the shooting of the movie, Harmony Korine and Larry Clark would fight often and had a complete fallout at the end of filming. They would not make amends until years later. To review the film retrospectively, we must look at K.I.D.S as a time capsule, because this film could not be made the same way today. Due to our technology with today's cell phones and devices, the film's story would immediately fall apart. The film follows Telly and Casper, two New York City skate pals who are living in the fast lane. They are always chasing a high or young girls. Telly prides himself on deflowering young virgins because they are clean. Meanwhile, he is totally unaware that he is a carrier of HIV and that he is passing it along to each of his conquests. We then get introduced to a young girl named Jen, who was deflowered by Telly and just found out that she caught the disease from him. She then embarks on a journey across New York City to find him and tell him about his condition before he continues to pass it on. So, with that alone, if we look at it through today's lens of technology, she could have easily picked up a phone, called him, let him know, and not have to traipse all around New York City trying to find him to fill him in on the news. However, looking at it from today's standpoint, almost 25 years later, the story is not the main focus of the film. It is the movie's unrivaled energy. The movie branches out into different party scenes and moments that really intrigue the viewer with its rawness and honesty. And from the first few minutes of the movie, it does not feel like anything you've ever seen from a major studio film before. The performances are just too real, and if you have hung out with any sort of careless youth growing up, then you will immediately recognize this. The dialogue flows effortlessly, and the acting is on point from start to finish, which is surprising being it includes such a young cast. The chemistry between the off-screen friends really enhances the spectrum of emotions that the film takes you to. In my opinion, the standout performance of the film goes to Justin Pierce with his role playing Casper. He was rewarded for his performance with an Independent Spirit Award, citing Best Debut Performance. The film heavily characterizes the reckless, don't-give-a-shit attitude of young kids. This turned out to be not too far from the truth for most of the cast and crew. Several members of the cast have openly talked about their personal struggles with excessive drug and alcohol use, and it even went on to claim the lives of two of the film's brightest stars. Howard Hunter, a pro skateboarder, died years later from a cocaine-fueled heart attack, and Justin Pierce committed suicide at the age of 25, hanging himself in a Las Vegas hotel. I do not want to give away any major spoilers because the storyline is very, very simple, and if I talk too much about it, it immediately gives everything away. So if you're curious, check it out firsthand, so that way you can have the experience of the twist ending yourself. To sum it up in a rating based on a retrospective scale, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. The acting is great, the energy is great, it's a really amazing independent film. It's so unique compared to anything else I've ever watched. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I couldn't recommend it high enough for a young filmmaker or somebody who loves independent movies to check out. Especially nowadays, they would be the ideal audience for this. The energy of the cast is stellar, and it definitely deserves its acclaim as an independent classic, and it's just led by the awesome performances of the Skate Kids. So I would give it a 7 out of 10, and I would recommend it.